Ron Odom here again with Groove with Passion Drum Lessons here in East Orlando. And today I want to talk about when you go out to play with your band, if you're a gigging drummer, looking at your space or the amount of space you have on the stage. Now I play in a local Christian rock band here in East Orlando called Just a Few Frogs. And we played at several different venues here around Central Florida and up in Daytona. Played at coffee houses, different churches. We've even played at a couple of bars. And depending on where you're playing, there's stages are different sizes. Okay. Now you see my kit here. It's a typical 5-piece drum kit. I've got the 2 crash cymbals, ride cymbal, and hi-hat. Now in addition to the kit that what you see here, I also have a set of 3 rototoms. It's a 6, 8, 10-inch rototom, which are on a stand. And I actually mount them here between the hi-hat and the ride tom. Now they actually take up quite a bit of space, and the base of the stand for the rototoms is actually, the legs are pretty wide, okay? Also too, I have another cymbal stand that I normally use, and I can put either, I've got an 18-inch China cymbal or a 14-inch crash, okay? So my full kit, if I bring the full kit, actually takes up quite a bit more space than what you see here. So if I'm bringing the whole kit to a venue, I have to account for that, okay? There's been a few times where I had to leave off a couple of cymbals. I always try to include my rototoms because the rototoms are a big part of my band's sound. And so I always try to make sure I have at least space for the rototoms. There's been a few times I had to kind of squeeze everything in because the size or the space that I had to set up in was not very big, all right? So that's one thing you always want to take into account. If you're in a band and you play out at different places, different venues, there's been some places that we've played where I had plenty of space, and it was not a concern. That's great. If you have that luxury, then that's always a good thing, because then you don't have to cram everything in. There may be other times where your space is limited. You may not be able to set up your entire kit. Now, if you're playing if you have a jazz kit, if you just got a basic, say a 4 or 5-piece kit, maybe just a ride cymbal and a crash, or maybe 2 ride cymbals, and that's all, usually that's not going to be a problem. Another thing you want to think about is I actually have a drum rug. I actually purchased this drum rug, I think I've had about 8 or 9 years from Musician's Friend, okay? And on this drum rug, here on the front, it actually has in front of the bass drum basically like a wooden block there. And what that does is it anchors the bass drum in place, okay? The reason why I mentioned having a rug is sometimes certain venues that you play in, you may be setting up on a wooden floor, maybe terrazzo or tile. The challenge with that is if you don't have a rug under your cymbal stands, and especially your hi-hat stand, even for your bass drum, when you start playing, they can start sliding away from you. That's very difficult to play like that. I experienced that one time. This was at the singles group for Northland Community Church in Longwood. And I set up in there. It was a terrazzo floor, didn't have my drum rug, nothing under the kit, and I was playing. I had to keep reaching over, put my hi-hat stand back, bass drum was trying to get away from me, and so it was very frustrating. So that's when I went online, Musician's Friend's website, that's when I bought the drum rug. So any rug will do. This one is made specifically for the drum set, but something under your stands to keep everything in place. So I hope that these tips are helpful for you. If you have any other questions about setting up your kit, tuning the drums, drum lessons, please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Groove with Passion Drum Lessons. Also, if you live in East Orlando or here in the Central Florida area, please contact me for drum lessons. Also, I do have a Groove with Passion Drum Lessons Facebook page, so please check that out. Like my page if you get the chance. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.